I'm trying to overdose myself on video games right now. Well, one in particular. There's a, and it really is the same as a drug overdose for me. I mean, in so many ways. The first hits are great, and then it just goes down to the, oh, must play, I'm not sure I'm enjoying this, and then finally, well, I get bored, I get tired of it, I finally segment and cut away because they eat me up so much. But that's not what I wanted to talk about, although I did want to talk about that at some point. I was sitting out on the porch waiting. There's huge load times. I'm doing Crusader Kings 3, which is for free for a couple of days, and then there's a sale to go with that, but I think, like, I'm just going to take the free sale. I'm not sure. But I can tell you my lifespan with these things is usually play it really, really intensely for a little while, and then play it for a long time, not sure why I'm playing it anymore. I'm enjoying, I feel compelled to play it, maybe because I bought it or downloaded it or whatever, and then finally just letting it trickle out. And the question is, you know, how much playtime, whatever, but it's those first couple hours that are impressive. But what I wanted to look at is something I've touched on before. Yeah, I still gotta put this away. In other games that are in other videos that I've done, which is that comfort versus happiness. In this case, I'm looking at it through the lens of memory. What things do I remember? Because, you know, I mean, it's very, very easy to see, or most of my other videos have been about, have touched on this idea that real happiness is not comfort at all, right? This joyful exaltation, whatever, is almost an opposite. It's an extreme feeling similar. And it's very, very rare. But there's other things that are not rare, which are these kind of fond memories back. And the thing with the fond memories back is almost every single damn one of them. There's a few exceptions. Well, I don't think there's a single one that comes at a time where there's not great disruption. Because those that are of the ecstatic nature that I can remember are seated in the disruption of that ecstatic moment. But most of them are times of trouble, shared. Not necessarily. Some are not shared. So, for example, my drive down from Eugene to Phoenix, I have fond memories of. Basically, it's these struggles that we faced that persist as the good things. And what I was thinking, you know, obviously thinking about my wife, there's such long load times that I went out on the porch and I sat down in front of my big windows and remembered sort of the first day, I think that after I had bought the place, we came over to do some cleaning and figure out what we needed in terms of tools and whatnot, and picked up Subway. We never pick up, you know, food out in this kind of nature, in this kind of way. Picked up Subway sandwich to split and sat out on the porch right where I was sitting, basically. Beautiful day, whatever. Had our lunch and then started assessing, you know, what we would need. Although, when I say something like assessing what we would need, anything that I'm involved in is not, you know, doesn't really deserve those kind of words. I kind of blundered about and thunk some things. and she did practical stuff. I'm not good at that. And, I mean, yeah. You know, if it weren't for... It's always weird, the difference between people, but like... If it weren't for her social anxiety, if it weren't for... I think whatever underlie that, which was kind of similar to my unwillingness to do, I think we would be just such completely different people. But that's okay. I mean, I've never been with... I've only been with one person who was as fucked up as I am in terms of a lot of stuff, and that was my psycho ex, and that was not a good mix. And I wouldn't want to be with someone who's, for example, as slobbish as I am. It's great to have someone around who can't stand that and has to tidy up to some extent, because I will just keep decaying, you know. I mean, I'm seeing it happening. I'm seeing bags showing up. But again, back to where I wanted to go, which is that, you know, it kind of makes sense, right? The comfort periods, there's nothing to remember. There's nothing that important. They just become this blur, and it's not a particularly happy blur. It's this kind of, fuck, where did the time go? What the hell happened? That was 10 years? I mean, seriously? I guess I can look at the events that happened in there and space them out by time, but then I'm like, wow, what a waste of 10 years, you know? And I mean, it's not just, you know, not in terms of, wow, I wasted 10 years with this person. The time before her, well, at least I was trying to find people, but yeah, mainly that was a waste too. And then I look through my whole life and I say, wow, that was all fucking a waste too. And that's pretty easy when you can't find a real purpose, you know? I mean, and I know some of you Christianoids out there are going to be like, well, your purpose is to worship and revere God, or whatever the fuck it is you believe is your real purpose based on this. I have no idea, but no, you're not going to give me a purpose from, I mean, my purpose could be to do meth. I see those as functionally equivalent, right? No. There just isn't one in my view. But anyway, going back, when there's these limited purposes, right? You know, that are vital at the time, that are very, you know, very physical, very real, very simple. I gotta crawl home from the bar, from where I passed out on the railway tracks, and I'm drunk as hell, and it's many miles, and I can't stand. That's one that sticks in my head, you know? Puking my way down through various neighborhoods in Buffalo. Yeah, another, you know, but this change to a new house, the disruption of that, and likewise, times that were difficult for us, not necessarily between us, but times where there was difficulty. The whole period surrounding the Phoenix move, moving out of Phoenix back up here, where we were living became intolerable to her. It bothered me. The weirdest thing is, there may have been nothing there. It bothered me, and then whatever psychological or real existence was going on, and I think what was going on was there was actually more vibration coming from the people who lived below. What bothered me ended up bothering her a whole lot more, to the point where it was like the background vibration of the road or whatever that I was feeling when she was disturbed by it, and I just couldn't understand anymore. But it was like, okay, well, if we cannot live here, we cannot live here. And we moved, we did the whole, hey, let's just pack up a truck, find a place to live call-wise, pack up a truck, and make the drive from fucking Phoenix back up to Eugene. Now, I'm not a good driver with a car. Imagine me trying to take, and when I take the rental, the U-Haul or whatever, a couple miles, it's a risky thing. But here I am taking that cross country, and I haven't driven in, I don't know, at that point it was probably 3 years since the last time we took a rental to drive to not Sedona, I don't remember where it was. Pretty little area with pine trees and everything. But I mean, the memories from these trips are, and maybe it's because I don't take vacations, right? A vacation would be an intentional, like a trip vacation, would be an intentional disruption of precisely the type that makes those memories, right? It is in violation of comfort. My nature is to comfort, and hers was too. I remember my first wife, who felt very much the same way, but towards the end was like, I need a vacation. Can we scrape? I think we can scrape up enough money to go to like Colonial Williamsburg or something like that, that she really wanted to see for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why. I was a little surprised by the choice. But just to like, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's a lot of money. Why, why can't, and I convinced her out of it. Because, again, that's just a natural inclination, and I'm always with someone who's very frugal, almost always. It wouldn't work otherwise. And so arguments about money are telling, Likewise, when I went to visit my just passed wife, yeah, we're trying to use that. Well, it's hard to distinguish, I mean, because I have two people to refer to with this term. A term that's meaningless to me, and already, if I'm using meaningless terms, let's string them together. When I went to visit her, we were supposed to go visit Italy. Now, I was there for 2 weeks, and I thought we could just kind of figure it out while we were there. That became difficult. It became difficult to, especially for me, to motivate. I felt like the burden was on me. Like, if she just took it on and said, you know what, here's what we're doing, pay. I would have been like, okay, and I would have done that, but that would have set little warning flags up that are like, I don't know if I can cope with somebody who directs me to do things like that. But I need someone who directs me to do things like that to some extent, So I don't know. But we fit together so well because we both would sort of resonate at that level of comfort and stay together and whatever. What's unimaginable to me is, I don't know, is sort of not just accepting the comfort, I mean, I understand the pain that comes from it. The pain of, oh my God, I'm fucking wasting everything. That would come to me 3 or 4 times a day. Yeah, you get used to it, I mean, I was used to it by 30 or so, you know. The fact that, you know, I guess that just couldn't reconcile for her. The meaninglessness and just watching life pass you by. Watching your own life pass you by. I don't know. But yeah, the point that I wanted to make was the things that make up memories, good and bad, are those disruptions. And so when you look back at your life, the choice to avoid disruption and harm seems wasteful, but the periods where you're not disrupted, the periods where you are disrupted are often very, very painful. They're in direct violation of everything at least someone like me is trying to do, which is trying to keep that simple, permanent comfort in place forever and always, you know, and hide my head from the fact that I'm aging and that all my stuff is decaying and that, you know, things don't put themselves away and messes start happening and everything like that. But the comfort is there. And that, I assumed we were the same in that, you know, and given that her reactions, her ways of living seemed actually more directed towards not disrupting, not, you know, not having to deal with these problematic situations. But it was funny. During those problematic situations, it felt like we were closest. You know, the comfort meant eventually different rooms where I didn't see her for most of the day. You know, I would see her for an hour a day. When I was in Phoenix, we didn't have that level of space and comfort. And so there was a little bit more interaction. It was still comfortable, but, you know, there wasn't the opportunity to segment as much. And it's not just the space. When we moved to Eugene, the first place we moved to, we each got our own rooms. Why? Because the bedrooms, well, first of all, the bedrooms were smaller than the bedrooms that I had in Phoenix. We had about the same total floor space, I think, maybe a little less, but it meant that if there was going to be a gaming place for big games, and I didn't have any with me or many, it was going to have to be in the main living room. And we both found what we kind of, I think, each knew on our own, which was we're okay in a little bedroom each. You know, I have my office set up in my bedroom and my bed rolled out. You know, I don't ever roll it up, although that would be like the sensible thing to do. But I don't need that much floor space. I've got room for an office chair, room for a desk with a couple of computers, room for crap strewed on the floor. You know, that's all I need. And for her, approximately the same size room, maybe a little bigger. Gave her room when she rolled up the bed to pace. Room for her own computers. And just, you know, it's like, yeah, we can isolate. We can isolate without a problem. And it's comfortable and feels normal and feels fine. But what that meant was these situations where we're thrown together, where we can't be in the house where we're supposedly comfortable, you know, or should be comfortable, and have to go out for walks together. Why together? I'm not sure. I'm not sure why she didn't, like, I would be working and she would be hating the vibrations and everything. She wouldn't go out to the pool to swim. She wouldn't go out for a walk, whatever. She had a real not wanting to do that, but somehow with me with her, she felt a little safer. Maybe I could deflect any unwanted attentions or whatever. I'm really not sure what the core to that was. I know that, like, you know, when she was living in Belgium, it had gotten to the point where she would dose herself with her anti-anxiety so she could get to the store, and she would basically just go there and back. There was no... And, you know, some of that may just be being female, right? You know, with what's in the news today and everything, you know, how clearly it's underlining the... Many females do not feel safe outside, period, the end. But I think it was more than that. You know, she didn't feel safe walking. She felt anxiety going on the streets in an area where nothing was going to happen. She just wouldn't do it. Why? Because maybe an equally bad thing was someone says hi to her. You know, I don't know. The only way she could cope was earbuds in, focus. Initially, I know it was either these drops or alcohol, and I don't think she had either recently, so I don't know. Maybe if she did, you know, maybe if I had found it my way to a nearby liquor store or we had alcohol available at the supermarket, maybe there wouldn't have been a problem. You know, maybe, who knows? But yeah, again, trying to get back those memories. Those memories are from periods where there was disruption, you know, the disruption of having to deal with a house where she couldn't be comfortable anymore, and having to go out for walks there. The disruption of the move up here. The disruption once we had noisy upstairs neighbors and finding another place. And I mean, that's the period where all the good times were, right? Where we went for long walks by the river. We came here and everything was comfy here, you know? Everything was comfy, and we stopped. Not completely, but it tailed off real hard. And that meant we were no longer clinging together, or she no longer needed to be with me to avoid the misery somehow. And I don't know, because to some of it there's the, my God, how can, you know, even just a fragment of my love not be enough to live up? Well, yeah, I'm not much of a narcissist, but no, honestly, I mean, that feeling of where there's no problem between people, and that love is just there, and there's, you know, some capability to touch or whatever, and to touch base with each other, and that's enough for me to live off of, you know? I mean, I'll be thrilled, and once if problems start showing between us, I'm like, oh boy, I can't take this anymore, whatever, you know, and escalate to a point where something has to be discussed. But there was never a problem that came between us of any nature like that. And there was, I don't know, there was never anything that good either. I've never known good times. I've never known bad times. Yeah. Yeah. But when I look back, not just at our relationship, but at every relationship, at every point in my life, it's those points where there's too much stress, where things are going wrong, where I have to cope with that in a way other than by burying myself in video games, which is what I'm doing right now, but probably only briefly. Although that would be a hell of a way to kill myself. Just sit in front of it and I'd feel myself going, getting worse and worse. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, I posted on Facebook. I used to be able to play for like a week or two straight. Not, I sleep and whatever and eat and shit, but I would almost, we'd be talking 18 hours a day maybe, for like a couple weeks. No, probably not that much. Probably not. Probably close to 16 hours a day and a couple hours for other stuff because I wouldn't get enough sleep ever. And I'd go on this weird rotating schedule where time just passed by. And then I'd look back and I'd be like, oh, wow. I got like 3/4 of the way through the EU computer game and now I don't want to play anymore and I'll never want to go back to this scenario. Yay me. I killed a couple of weeks. Yeah. But now, even when I take my vacation time, it's usually no more than like 2 to 4 days. I'm on a 2-day timer on this or else I have to pay, so I'm guessing it's going to end. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, when doing things like that, lying and reading, which I actually really enjoy. I love to sit or lie down and read, and I don't do that anymore. There's a happiness to that goes with comfort, but there's no memory of it. Right? It doesn't disrupt. Sometimes there's glimpses back. I can remember, after my first wife kicked me out, sitting in my mom's basement in a particular chair, and I probably was cursing the gods as I put the book down in my lap or something. But I have this memory of sort of a kind of comfort with the dog at my feet. I have a memory from my youth of this really wonderful chair that was in the basement there, but they naugahyde at it, and it was no longer any good. It had the original straw cushion in it and all velvet covered, but it was really, really worn out. And it's got these lion heads. It was an ancient recliner, like a 19th century recliner, Easy Boy or Lazy Boy or whatever. But that was in the kitchen. And I have memories of sitting in that, just glimpses of it. We're talking, I'm, maybe 8 years old here. The one warm room in the house, sitting in there, and family around, mom and dad, whatever. Not that I'd call them that, but that's what I have to call them on video. I don't know why. When talking to others. In our family, it's mama and papa, but somehow I can't say that to other people. I don't know why. It's almost like it's embarrassing or something. Yeah, you don't use your pet names with, to other people. You're not. If you have any, I'm trying to think what I had. I never used any label, basically, with my most recent wife. The prior one, I used a shortening of her name. And the reason is, for the latter, is she didn't like me to call out to her like in the store or something like that. So there was kind of okay, I will never use that, and we weren't around people. So there's no real need to call somebody by their name when they're the only thing around, I'm always so weirded out by kind of what I call the politician view, and it's the schmoozer view who's always like, they use your name in every fucking sentence or every couple sentences, and you're just like, whoa, dude, that is weird. That's like looking into somebody's eyes. I want to fucking stab you if you do that to me. Either one. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's sort of like a psychological rape. The name is there for a purpose. It's not there for you to assault me with, right? And it feels like an assault, you know? Okay, good, you know my name. Great. Stop it. You are misusing me. But yeah, I think with everyone else, I used shortenings of their name or their name fairly often because I was with them in situations where I would have to distinguish them from other people. I was never with her in a situation where I had to distinguish her from other people, which is one reason I don't use her name on video. Another is, honestly, I don't think she'd want it. You know, it's not your right to know her. It's your right to know my pain that I'm sharing. But I don't feel like I have the right to give away what I don't need to. I don't know where to go from here in terms of this video. It's wandered off track and I'm not going to be able to load it up right away. So I'm just going to stop and try to figure out a good name for it.